Hello, welcome to another Dungeon a Day, this time for August, which was Orc themed. If you like any of the maps or the prompts or anything else I've done, head to oddartworks.com. I will say for American viewers, there will be a delay on sending maps out to the US due to all the tariff stuff. But if you have any questions, just email me and I'll happily try and answer them for you. Also, I've released all my mini dungeons as a zine. It's on pre-order at the moment, so if that's something that interests you, head over to oddartworks.com and take a look. Right, let's roll some dice. Okay, what do we get first? Doom Prophet. Pretty apt for how I felt this went. It was a bit fraught. So kind of started quite simply. Wanted to do an orc with a skull in his hand and a sharp knife. This map ended up being really fraught. All sorts of things happened in August. I've had builders in, so chaos and anarchy ensued. Decided to launch more videos, but anyway, let's get on with it. Anyway, orc-blooded elf next. So I kind of think when I wrote this prompt, I was thinking of kind of like a half orc, half elf, but I decided to do an elf covered in blood, basically. Like he's kind of invaded this area, whatever it's going to be, and is just drenched in blood after all the conquest he's done. I feel like I've been mean to elves in a lot of the maps, so I thought better give him a bit of comeuppance, I think. Alright, next one, a challenger. So this worked out well, so I could have something for the elf to be fighting, and I kind of thought of a typical big burly orc. I don't know why I like to give orcs very short legs. They're very top heavy, I think, but it kind of works. And carrying 2 axes, why not? All good fun there. This first bit of a weird one because I only had 3 along the top, so wasn't quite sure how the rest of the map was gonna go, but yeah, reasonably happy with it. And literally any excuse to use the big fat smelly pen. It doesn't take much. Again, I could do all this dark stuff digitally. I just prefer to do it with the pen. I couldn't tell you why, but I just do. Alright, on to the next row. Demonic Altar. So fairly simple one to start. I think I decided I wanted to do this on like a mesa or a cliff. So I kind of kept this kind of jagged cliff kind of face. Demonic Altar, I kind of thought a big kind of demon skull on a stone slab with skulls underneath it, very metal, very rock and roll, very orc, Quite what they do with this altar, I don't know, so I don't know if they make offerings or anything, but I thought it was cool. And then I rolled Lost Orc Prince. So this was tricky, and I really didn't know how to make an orc look like a prince, so I kind of thought, well, I won't do him in torn clothes. I'll give him kind of a posh-looking sword and a bit of a pondering look about him to make him seem like he's trying to find some place to go. Not super happy with this, and I did fix him a bit when I moved him into the computer, which I'll talk about later, but on the whole, he works. And then a typical shaman's hut. So I wanted to do kind of literally just a very simple hut with a skull outside and a torch on the other end, and kind of like somebody peeking through, kind of not sure what's going on, but I imagine this is a place where orcs come for advice, or if they need healing, or they've got an illness they're not sure about, or a disease, that this is where they come. Quite pleased with that. I think it reads as like a little hut, which is okay, and keeping that cliff going. And then Rebellion Hideout. So I was a bit confused about this one, and initially I was going to do dwarves, but I thought, maybe the goblins are rebelling. Maybe they don't like this newly invented goblin ball thing that was very popular with the last orc map I did. So they're rising up, and they're not going to be used in orc ball or goblin ball anymore. Maybe they're going to invent their own version of orc ball. It's much more difficult because orcs are very large and goblins are very small. So yeah, I'm not sure it's going to take off, but I'm sure they're going to give it a try. And then we rolled number 1, Brooding Warlord. So yeah, I kind of thought this guy, he's just kind of listened to what the Doom Prophet's got to say up above there, and he's watching on to the fight going on between the Challenger and the Elf, and maybe he's contemplating joining in, or maybe he's heard the Elf might be his end, so he's waiting to see how it turns out. Moonlit Sacred Grove. Okay, so I think initially I was planning on doing this at a much more zoomed out scale, so it would have been easier to put a grove in, but I decided I'd just do a tree with a carving of a moon on it. And because I've kind of decided this is like a desert-y kind of area or a wasteland, I thought the tree should look like just, dead and decayed and not particularly healthy. And maybe once it was. Maybe that's what the elf is fighting for. So blood-stained dueling pit. So I kind of thought this pit would be, because it is a pit, it leads off the cliff. This is where the orcs put all the swords of all the challengers and heroes that have tried to slay them and invade their camp. Because I think at this point I decided it was going to be a camp. So it's the orcs encampment. And this is what they do with all the blades of the would-be slayers and heroes, the ones that never made it. Okay, so we've got a row done. So let's take a look at that. Very, very coherent so far, so quite happy with that. It works. It's telling an interesting story. Right, broken shields. This would have been a good one if the swords and the shields were on the same row. But I kind of thought maybe the other side of the cliff is where they dump all the knackered, broken shields that the heroes have kind of wasted trying to fight the orcs. So yeah, pretty simple. This one. This is what's fun about working with prompts. You never quite know what you're going to get, and you're never quite sure how to put them together. But hopefully, these maps will show you how that kind of works. So we got a sacred war horn for the next one, which is interesting. So yeah, here we have the giant horn, the giant orc, kind of giving him all his might and gusto to alert kind of everyone in the camp that they're being attacked by elves, or an elf. And yeah, I always like doing giant horns like this because I like to try and imagine what animal this horn has come off. Like a giant ram or who knows what, it must be massive. Alright, so then we've got Spirit Summoning Circle. So this is quite handy, it's right outside the shaman's hut, so it makes sense. And I kind of just wanted to put ghosts in it, I think I've put ghosts in almost everything so far, so maybe I should calm it down with the ghosts. Whatever next month's is, no ghosts. Okay, 45. Orc who fears blood. I like the idea of orcs being big and burly and tough. And I like the idea of one of them just being all bravado, and he's just cut his finger a little bit, and he's freaking out because of it. I just find that amusing. And, sometimes that's what these maps are all about. It's just me doing things that amuse myself. And I hope if you're following along with the prompts that's what you do too. Sometimes it's nice to have a bit of light-hearted silliness. Okay, next is war trophies. And I thought, what kind of trophies would orcs kind of take? And I thought, well, the skulls of all their fallen foes. So we've got weird kind of humanoid skulls, funny shaped skulls, a one-eyed skull there, a crown, a sword. And I like to think they just stick them on sticks and leave them in the middle of camp. Maybe it was that warlord who kind of earned all these. And then we've got the war chief's throne. So I always think of the war chief, the king of the orcs, if you like, as being the biggest, burliest, meanest orc that there is. I kind of did something here that I was taking a chance with. So I kind of thought, okay, let's try and do an orc that takes up 4 kind of sections or parts of 4 sections on the map. I've done 1 or 2 kind of things like this before, but not with 4. So yeah, when I rolled the next one, Secret Book Collector, I knew the first thing I had to do was extend the War Chief over and then worry about the Book Collector. And rather than do a big bookcase, I thought, let's just do an orc who's scrabbling up this cliff face because he's found a book. And maybe he doesn't even know what it says. Maybe it's just really, really posh toilet paper to the orc. Who knows? But yeah, I think that was kind of a fun little addition there. And the black smelly pen again. And then we got another row, so yeah, so far we've got a lot going on in this encampment, which is good, which is what we like. So cool. Alright, on to the next row. We got Warlock. Steadfast of all orc war camps, so gave them the typical skull-like hat that they wear. I don't know if hat's the right word, but feels like a hat. And I wanted it to be like casting a spell, but I didn't know at this point what was going to come next, so I kind of thought, okay, I'll have one hand extend going down, so that'll be taking kind of power from something, and casting it with the other hand going across. So setting myself up potentially for failure, but we'll see what comes next. And we got Crude War Shrine. Okay. So this was quite a good one to kind of attach the spell to. So like an altar of skulls and this massive axe, maybe for the war chief. And the warlock is empowering it with whatever energy he's got to make it a vicious, brutal weapon that will slay many foes, I'm sure. And a side effect of that is there's a little spark of magical energy coming off that hits the kind of poor orc who was probably dead and has now been risen from the grave. And I decided to just give him one arm, why not? Have some ribs showing. I'm kind of risen from the ground and not quite sure what to do, and yeah, just angry about it. It's weird how all zombies and things are always slightly angry, aren't they? So that was kind of fun. And gave him an arrow to the knee. If you know, you know. Okay, and the next bit was trying to work out what was gonna go on with this. So I rolled a peon, so I did 2 peons, and they are not having any of this undead nonsense. So they are running for the hills, keeping their eyes on the undead orc, not sure what to do. But yeah, these are just commoners, so they're not quite as big as some of the other orcs, but they are not happy about that situation, so they are running. And then Great Beast Stable. So I interpreted this just into the Great Beast part of it, and I like the idea that there's this giant wolf, and unbeknownst to the peons, they are running straight into its mouth, which I found vaguely amusing. And yeah, I wasn't sure about the wolf to begin with, but once I'd finished this, I really quite liked the wolf. I was very aware that he would be going across the war chief. So the next one, War Mother's Sanctuary, I kind of thought, okay, we've got a female orc now. And I kind of thought she's taken care of the big bad wolf a little bit. So probably knows that the wolf needs to eat, so probably quite happy that it's about to dine on a couple of peons. So yeah, kind of just keeping her quite simple, making sure she's got kind of very clear shapes against the fur of the wolf, and just extending the war chief's feet down behind him. And then we've got Crumbling Watchtower. And I kind of thought I would do a proper watchtower, but then I thought it would be kind of funny to make it into like a dog's house for the wolf. Like it was once a big old tower for people, and now it's used as like a, I don't know, like one of those cartoon dog houses you see on Tom and Jerry and things like that. I don't know, it just kind of amused me. So yeah, pretty pleased with the way that kind of turned out. Solved my war chief problem, so happy there. And yeah, we got another row done, which tells its own kind of story within the story, which is quite nice about these larger maps. Alright, Blackened Forge. So this time I kind of thought I wanted to do a forge, but I wanted to look like a bit of a skull, so I kind of thought about making like a kind of an open-faced kind of, I don't know, just a giant skull full of metal spikes and things like that. And this is where the orcs forge all their weapons, their great weapons of power that they will use. And this is where the warlock is drawing his power from to empower the mighty axe and create the undead orc a little bit. So yeah, not sure it reads as a forge, but I think it's okay. And we got a dagger wielding scout, So I'd like to think that this scout has just kind of had these knives or these daggers forged, and it's kind of now just, you know, showing off, going, you know, that kind of weird thing that they all do in the films when they get a new knife, they swirl it around and everything. I like to think he's showing off a little bit like that, like he thinks he's the coolest orc that there was. So yeah, that's the plan with that one. Alright, then we got an exorcist shaman, who I kind of initially thought would be dealing with the undead orc above. But I kind of like the idea that he's not really paying too much attention, you know, like he doesn't see it as a problem just yet. So he's looking out over the cliffs, quite relaxed, unbeknownst to him that there could be a zombie apocalypse about to happen. Then we got half orc, which I kind of thought, okay, how do I tell this is a half orc? And then I thought, I am just going to draw half an orc. So I like the idea that, you know, this orc's maybe upset somebody, and he's just been chopped in half. The other half of him has fallen off the cliff, but whoever's there has just left the axe in him a little bit. And yeah, it's half an orc, so it's a half orc. Yeah. And then we got a war banner. So this is whatever heraldry that this particular orc clan has, or tribe. I don't know what you call what is a gathering of orcs called? You know, let me know in the comments below. I have no idea. So anyway, we got like an orc standard with the typical skull and everything else on it. And then we got a cunning shaman. And I didn't realise when I drew this that I'd left the camera in the same place, so he's a little bit off frame, but I think you can still see him. And this is a guy who's maybe got an appointment with the war chief, but he's gonna do him in. He wants to be war chief himself, so he's got a knife hidden behind his back, ready to take him on. And the last one was a grub farm trench. So I kind of think that the orcs, maybe a delicacy for orcs, are these weird kind of toothy worm things that live kind of in like a canyon underneath, and maybe this is why they've set the camp up here, because all these delicious worms are kind of just hanging around there. So yeah, you know, that was August. Yeah, lots went wrong, but like I did manage to do this pretty much every day. I think there's a couple of days where I'd missed, so I had to do a couple here and there, but on the whole I got it done. It just felt very fraught, I suppose. So just finishing the cliffs off, getting the big black smelly pen out, and then remembering to do my signature, which you would not believe how many times I forget to do on all sorts of stuff. So there we go. I rubbed all the pencil out, got it into the computer. Quite happy with it. I knew there were a lot of things I had to fix, or add to, really. The main thing being I wanted to add more shadows, so this is what I did. So here it is with much more defined shadows. I feel like the shapes work a lot better, tidied things up a little bit, made some things stand out and other things a bit more knocked back, so happy with that. Then my 3 tones of grey, which really brings everything to life. So very happy with that. I always think this is how I know it works, is if it works at this stage, I'm good. So colour wise I don't have to worry as much. And for colours I want it to be quite orange and desert like, with lots of strong reds. So pretty pleased with this. So these are my base colours, so pretty happy with the way everything kind of reads. Things stood out that needed to stand out. And then my effects, so kind of glowy lightning, any shiny bits, and an overlay of kind of a soft orange just to warm things up even further. But yeah, really happy with this, which leads to only one thing left, which is the War Chief's encampment and all the text that goes on. Like I said, you'll be able to get this at oddartworks.com, as well as next month's prompts. There will be a delay in getting things out to my American viewers, so please be patient. If you order one, I will keep that particular number for you, so don't worry. And a huge thanks to all my patrons. Couldn't do these videos without you. Feel free to join the Patreon. On the paid tier, you will get a shout out at the end of the video. Alright folks, thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye now.